I'll wait for myself to get into frame and then I'll start talking.
I think we can start talking because of the delay.
Oh, because of the delay.
The delay,
right.
Yes.
Hello, everybody. Say hello.
Hello, everyone.
It's no good just waving. Some people might be hard of sight. You get shy, do you? I'm sorry about that. I hope you've all had a very good week. We've had a relatively good week. It was a 4-day week. We had Tuesday off,
Yes.
Freedom Day, which was, of course, for those of you who don't know, the anniversary, the 27th anniversary of our first democratic elections in the year 1994, when my wife was 4 and I was 17.
Sounds wrong when you say it like that.
It does. Anyway, there it goes. So, this week we are obviously travelling a little bit further afield from where we were last week on our Botswana trip. Just to remind you where we've come from, we landed in Maun, which is usually a dust bowl second to none, but in fact was a verdant green paradise when we got there in January on account of the rains. And then we went up to Savuti, where we spent a few nights at Savuti Camp. Beautiful place, no one else there except for one extremely kind cameraman, filmmaker called Robert. And then we went up to the Chobe riverfront, and that's where you and us have spent the last 3 weeks, I think.
3 days? 3 weeks.
Yes, 3 weeks. Yes,
mm-hmm.
We didn't spend 3 weeks there.
That's how I got worried.
Right, good. And this week we travelled down south through the incredibly attractive town, I'm being sarcastic, of Nata, and then we headed in a due westerly direction towards the Mahadi Pans. Now, before you get into this episode and wonder why it is that we're not driving on the Pans, driving on the Pans would have been suicidal at this time of the year. We would have sunk the very nice car that Barry from Chobe 4x4 gave us, and so unfortunately we couldn't go to the Pans. And in fact, we inquired, I'm not spoiling anything yet, am I? We inquired of one of the park's officials, who said that no, she advised us not to go anywhere near the Pans because in fact somebody had gone that way. A group of parks officials had gone that way some 48 hours previously. They had got stuck and they had sent a recovery vehicle from Nata to go and fetch them, and they had got stuck and nobody was able to extract anybody else from where they were stuck. And so we decided, given that we were on our own, we probably wouldn't go there. So, something for us to do on the next trip. Cheers.
Cheers. Send in your questions.
Yes,
and I
please
think
send in your
so.
questions.
We were supposed to stay there 4 nights because Barry booked us 4 nights at Kumaga because he was really nervous about the rain everywhere else.
Yeah.
And so this episode is Kumaga, and you'll see we changed plans.
We changed plans because we're very spontaneous.
Everyone is saying hello. Arbia says, is this a continuation of the series? I think you think last week was the last one.
Oh, yeah. No, Arbia, this is absolutely a continuation of the series. Although we were in a vehicle called Chobe 4x4, you are allowed to drive outside of Chobe in your Chobe 4x4 vehicle. It's just based in Kasane, which is, it's the most perfectly centrally placed spot to explore southern Africa. You can go up into Zambia, you can go west into Namibia. If you're extremely brave, you can go into Angola to the northwest. You can go into Zimbabwe and obviously Botswana, and you can sort of do the northern parts of South Africa too, if you wanted to.
Spa said, did we see meerkats there?
We didn't see.
No.
We didn't see meerkats. No. There is a meerkat sanctuary, wasn't there?
I really wanted to go.
Yes, but we couldn't get there because, again, of the wet. And so, no meerkats this time. And in fact, when we went to the Kalahari on honeymoon, we really wanted to and expected to see meerkats, but we saw one little troop sort of way in the distance one morning, which was great. We had a beautiful sighting of a Lana falcon bombing them, but unfortunately those were the only ones. And apparently, through much of the Kalahari, their numbers are slowly recovering, but they were decimated a little while back by a virus of some description. So they're not actually that common there anymore. But they might be coming back, we hope. Send through your questions if you would like to. Were there some? Or shall I just keep waffling?
Well, you can waffle while I look.
Right.
Because I lost my place.
I'm wondering if we shouldn't sort of have a hashtag for questions. It makes me feel more at home to say good evening. Send your questions to hashtag me, my wife and the wildlife. Don't do that because no one's checking Twitter.
Bobby said, are there brown hyenas in the pans?
Bobby, yes. There are brown hyenas in the pans. We didn't see any. There were spotted hyenas and brown hyenas, but we didn't see any brown hyenas. Game viewing wise, it wasn't the best time of year because the grass was yay high. We did have some spectacular sightings, but they were sort of fairly lengthily interspersed, shall I say. Cheers again.
Sarah was replying, thank you, Abed.
Thank you, Abed.
Tom said, has anyone ever told you that you look like Marty Feldman?
Who is Marty Feldman? No, Tom, no one has ever told me that I look like Marty Feldman before.
Do we know who
I don't know who Marty Feldman is. I prefer to be known as Jason Statham's doppelganger with a much smaller bank account.
Marty Feldman.
I mean, I don't know what to say to that.
I can see it.
You can see it, can you? Right. You married Marty Feldman. I'm not sure that's a credit to you.
Pickle Green said, any songtime streams coming up?
Oh, Pickle Green, yes, there will be a song time coming fairly soon. I was hoping to do one tomorrow, but I'm not going to because I'm just not quite ready yet. My voice still not fully recovered from when I pulled the muscle in the neck. It's one of those stupid little, I was sleeping funny kind of things, and when I woke up I'd lost 1/6 of my range, which was a bit of a disaster. It's slowly recovering, and I'm just changing up a couple of songs, and it won't be next week because we'll be away, won't we?
Yes.
So it won't be the weekend after because I'll be away as well. So maybe 3 weeks time? 3 weeks time, let's make it for then. It will be a Scottish themed evening, so you can wear a kilt or a
hat,
bonnet, bring your bagpipes, whatever, cook a haggis, bring some scotch.
Robin says, do we have any winter trips planned?
We don't have anything formal planned yet.
Next weekend we're going to the Kruger.
Next weekend we're going to the Kruger. We'll try and do something there. And I'm doing a walk on the 13th of May in a place called Letaba Ranch, well actually just north of there. And it's a fascinating spot. I may have mentioned it to some of you before, where I worked before I was at Wild Earth, setting up a conservation project, which was an absolute failure. Anyway, where I and my partners failed, so somebody else seems to be succeeding, and I'm going along to help guide a walk there. It's on the it's just near Palaboa. So if you're interested in doing something like that and you're in South Africa, let me know.
Everyone is saying you don't look like Marty.
Thank you, everybody. You're saying I don't look like Marty. I don't think I look like Marty either.
Hello, Sunshine. How are you liking your new job?
Hello, Sunshine. I tell you what I am liking about my new job a lot is the amount of learning that I'm doing about different parts of Africa. And, you hear about lots of places and you know that they exist, but you often don't have the time to go and read them or read about them or find out about them and that sort of stuff. And so it's really nice to be able to spend time learning about different places, different species in some cases, and also about different conservation issues and where people are working. And I mean, some of you may remember that way back we did a show in the Mara. It was the first show we did called The Migration. It was the migration show that we did. And we had Shivani Bala of Ewaso Lions, if you remember that. And she came through and she chatted to us, and I interviewed her during one of the episodes. And she's doing a lot of work on human-wildlife conflict and helping humans and lions live together up in Samburu. And I've been working with her. She's going to write us an article, or certainly her colleague's going to write us an article and has written an article, and it's fascinating. Everybody knows that human beings and wildlife have to live together, but there are actually people out there making it happen. And this is an amazing story of how herders are living with lions, outside of protected areas, which is really exciting. Anything?
Back to Botswana.
Yeah.
Gareth said, when is the best time to do a trip like this one? Obviously after Corona.
Gareth, you can check that out on Africa Geographic if you like. We've just published our first story on the best time to go on safari. I would say, weather-wise, any time from now, really, from March. If you want to get onto the pans, you want to go when it's as dry as possible, so sort of June, July. It's going to be very cold in the morning, beautiful days though, nice still beautiful days. But any time from now, and then you can go in, even September, October actually, you'll find you can get onto the pans, and that's when the water's really concentrated. It will be beastly hot though, so if you're not used to heat and you like air conditioning, the kind of trip we did would be very difficult for you in September or October because it's before the rains have come, but the animals will be everywhere.
Amazing.
Or not everywhere, they'll be down at the water, so it'll be easy to find them. So that's kind of the game viewing best time. Best weather is probably between now and August. And a bit like in the low veld of South Africa, it'll get very hot very quickly, probably sometime in the second half of August. And then you're into what they call the sort of suicide time. And then the rains come in November, and after that it gets sludgy and quite difficult to travel. If you're going to the Okavango, you want to go, I think the floodwaters get there in May, so you want to be there sort of June, July, August. That's when you want to be in the Okavango.
Wild About Safari wants to know if we would ever do a show or a series from the Mara.
Would we ever do a series from the Mara? Oh yes, we would. If anybody gave us the opportunity to do a series from the Mara, we would be there like a shot. I think that, but I can speak for both of us when I say that was certainly some of the best times of either of our lives.
That's where we fell in love.
And from a wildlife perspective and a sort of landscape perspective, it's just
beautiful.
It's out of this world. It really is. So yeah, we'd love to go back there and spend an extended period and make a series there. That'd be wonderful.
Aunt Christine wants to know what's new with me and where am I working.
Oh.
Well, Aunt Christine, I am CEO of Hendry Productions. One employee, me. Although sometimes I boss James around.
Sometimes I'm allowed to freelance for Hendry
Yes.
Productions.
Doesn't get paid though. And I've been doing some large marketing videos. I've just actually made a website, which was very hard.
What's the website?
Hendry Productions.
Dot
CO.
CO.za. Well done.
Yes.
CEO. I'm
And
going
I've-
to appoint myself chairman of the board.
Yes, you can. I'll consider it.
You don't get to consider the board. You answer to the board. You can sit on the board, but you will be answerable to it.
But I'm the CEO and the
but
founder.
I'm the chairman of the board.
We'll discuss this later. Let's move on. Sorry, now I'm lost in the.
Did you get to see any reptiles and special nocturnal animals? Spas? We didn't. You're not allowed out at night. So you have to be back in camp by dark. And so we didn't see any special nocturnal stuff. We did have one magnificent, this is a slight spoiler, but I'm going to say it anyway, bat-eared fox sighting, but not this week. And you'll see that in a couple of episodes' time. But we weren't out at night. I don't think we did. I mean, there were lots of lizards and geckos and that sort of stuff, but we saw a snake or two.
We saw a black mamba and we never got to film it.
That's right.
It was a huge black mamba and it just went quickly across the road. But that was our only snake actually.
Yeah.
And no chameleons.
Well, we're not out at night, so we
I
didn't
know,
see
but
them.
it's not even in the day. A vet wanted to know, how is COVID going in SA? She has a trip booked for August, and what are the chances from the UK?
Yvette, I think it's going to depend very much on your government and whether they allow you to travel to South Africa or not. Our government, being utterly incompetent, managed to inoculate 40 people 2 weeks ago on Sunday, so I wouldn't describe our vaccination program as moving at great speed. So I don't think that the majority of our population will be vaccinated by August. And so it's going to depend on whether your government thinks it's okay for you to come here or not. I've no doubt our government will think it's A-OK, and if you've been vaccinated, I'm sure it will be A-OK. We haven't had a third wave here yet. We are preparing for it. We're afraid of it, definitely. There's definitely been some complete incompetence with our vaccination program. And also, in a country with so many people who are so poor and who are not connected online and who can't work online, people have to move. They have to move around. It's a bit like India. India's obviously had a terrible time of late, but people have to get up and move or they starve in their homes, and so the chances of there being a third wave, I think, are probably relatively high, but I don't know. I think that for people coming in here who've been vaccinated, I think, it'll be perfectly safe. And all the protocols will still be followed. And, the lodges are being fantastic about it. And in fact, the airports are being fantastic about it. Nobody's being irresponsible about it. It's just the government that's being very slow about getting us vaccines.
Change the topic again. James Rashad said, are there any bird species that you didn't see that we wish we did? Flamingos.
Yeah, flamingos, James Rashad. Flamingos, I am desperate to see. Obviously I've seen them before, but I've never filmed them and I've never photographed them. And everywhere we go, it's too wet, and so the water's too diluted, and so there are no flamingos, or we can't get to where they are. They need very briny water to exist, and we just haven't managed to time it so that we got there. There is a place where you can see flamingos around Nata and around the Maharikhari, but we just couldn't get there. So I've very sadly not seen any flamingos to film or to take photographs of. I think they're beautiful birds, always have. Yeah.
Or the Planet Earth with the flamingos, and the new one, the Life in Colour as well, with David Attenborough. The flamingos in that, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Jem, please tell us about jalan cruiser experience. Would you change anything in the vehicle?
Jem. I'm always interested when I get asked questions like this. I'm one of the sorts of people who is utterly incompetent when it comes to fixing or tinkering with or setting up things like vehicles, engine-wise or camping-wise. And that's why the Toyota Land Cruiser is the ideal vehicle for me, because it doesn't break. So it was perfect. From a driving point of view, it was a magnificent car to have. It had lots of power. It had diff locks on both front and back, which meant that it was just easy to get out of anywhere that was slightly sticky, and it's a heavy car, so you need that. And then from a camping point of view, Chobe 4x4 is a new company, and I think, they've set up their vehicles beautifully. They really are great. They had everything we needed, and those rooftop fold-out clamshell tents are fantastic. It had the little kitchen section, had everything in it. No, I don't think I would change anything. Would you change anything about it? No.
It was comfortable as well. He also does double cabs, so that you could have, you could go with 4 people, or you could have extra room in the back, but we didn't need that.
Yeah.
There was so much space.
Yeah.
Everything fitted in perfectly.
I know that certainly it is here, and I think it probably is in many parts of the world. Overlanding and self-drive safaris are sort of something of a religion among some people. That's what some people do on their weekends. It's all they do. They'll fix and tinker and put new connections in and buy the latest GPS, and I don't know. My father-in-law does some of this sort of stuff, but he's not nearly as obsessed as others. And I think that if you were to personalize the vehicle, I'm sure there would be things that you might change on it. But if you're going in cold, it's just perfect. I really wouldn't change anything about it. No.
Emma, whose cousin Emma, says, how is the fermented apple juice? I think cousin Emma Cranston.
Who's Emma Cranston?
I think that's her stage name. Emma, can you say that?
Emma.
If it's not, I'm sorry.
Many of you may remember Emma, who I sang with in December. Beautiful soprano. If it's not you. My fermented apple juice is delicious. I will confess that it is in fact not fermented apple juice, but distilled barley juice from Oban. a birthday gift.
We have 30 seconds. Should we see if we can fit in one more?
Let's see if we can fit in one more.
Shari, how do you pick out your music for your episodes? Or me, CEO. CEO
The
decisions.
CEO picks them from a website called Artlist, to which we pay a subscription.
No, I think. Is it for that? I was thinking
Yeah.
of for your singing.
For my singing,
Oh, okay. Well, I find all the music.
Yeah.
The CEO is good at that. I was
Yeah,
thinking of your actual.
she really is
Thank
very good at finding the music, and I always love listening to the things she comes up with.
Thank you.
Right.
Right.
Thank you, everybody. It's been lovely talking to you, and we will see you again probably in 3 weeks, because we won't be around next week. Yes?
And James will be chatting to you in 30 seconds
Yes,
on the show.
on the show. Don't forget to refresh.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Emma said it is Emma.
Good.